So I'm joined now by Town Administrator Paul Sagarino for our first Zoom update. Paul, thanks for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me, Rich.
So, we are right now, April 23rd, still kind of have that May 4th date out there as a possibility for when things could start opening. What are you hearing as far as that goes?
I would consider that date to be highly unlikely, Rich. We would love to have that happen, but I've learned a lot about science over the past month, and if you follow the situation in New York, they seem to be have an improving situation down there, and they're still not quite ready to open up. I think that if you look at Massachusetts' numbers, we're trailing sort of what happened in New York by a couple of weeks. So, they extended their deadline a minimum to May 15th. I can't imagine that the state of Massachusetts isn't going to extend its stay-at-home order. I'd be surprised if it wasn't extended, maybe even today or tomorrow at the governor's news conference. Just one man's opinion, though. I don't have any inside information on that.
And I know, so we're talking May now, and then we're looking ahead to June for the new date for the town election and town meeting. How confident are you in those dates?
I spoke to the town clerk this morning. The town election will be moving ahead on June 6th. There's going to be a strong push to encourage voters to vote by mail, so to sort of cut down on the foot traffic at town meeting. But I do believe that the town election will go on. I believe other states have held elections during this thing, and it'll be set up in a safe way with 6-foot buffers and all the protections that we could have in place. But certainly, if there are residents out there that have concerns about coming out, you will have an opportunity to vote by mail, and I would encourage you to contact the town clerk's office so that they can get that taken care of for you, because ideally we'd like to cut down on the foot traffic at the election, and I think voting by mail is a good way for us to accomplish that. But for those of you that still want to come to the polls, it's going to be set up in a way that's as safe as possible for everybody.
Yeah, and Town Clerk Amy Warfield actually just sent some information on how to do early voting and vote by mail, so people can find that on our website. I'm going to have that up this afternoon. So how is the preparation for town meeting going? I know everything's sort of up in the air. Ways and Means is meeting, remotely. What's the process look like this year?
Yeah, we had a lot of this work done prior to the pandemic, and we're moving forward, but it's a very uncertain time. I think many of our board members, elected and appointed, have concerns about the financial impact of the pandemic, and rightfully so. So we are, constantly evaluating the feedback we're getting at meetings. We meet with the school department on a weekly basis to try to, understand where we are and where we're going. But the process is moving forward. All the work was well underway prior to this starting, and we're as we're in the process of moving articles through the board process for approvals prior to town meeting. So.
Okay, so yeah, a lot of work was already done. That's good. It's good to get things going early, and because you never know what's going to happen, I guess. As this proves. So one of the things that I guess came up at the last selectmen's meeting was we have all these projects in mind, capital projects. Is there any sort of consideration of maybe delaying some of them, trying to find alternate funding? Because, as we're about to talk after this, there's going to be some changes to what sort of income the town is seeing.
Yeah, we're evaluating all those options right now, Rich. And, and again, based on feedback that we've gotten at the Board of Selectmen, at the Ways and Means Committee. So, we'll be meeting with Superintendent Conti, and we've asked all our departments. First of all, anything that makes it onto the capital list is very, very important purchase or expenditure or project for us. We can't afford to put projects on there that aren't very beneficial, aren't very needed. So it's more a question of not whether they're needed, it's a question of timing. So we've asked all department heads to go back and evaluate their request and just sort of determine, is there a project that we can hold off on till September town meeting or possibly January town meeting. So in other words, not cancel the projects, but just sort of delay the implementation of them until we have more information about sort of what's going on in the economy. So that's what we're working on right now. We just had a department head meeting this morning virtually to sort of relay that information that we want department heads to sort of consider the timing. They're all important. It's just a question of, can we delay the timing on them?
Okay, that makes sense. And from what you can see so far, I know the quarter's still in process, but do you have a sense of what the impact is going to be from having a reduction of meals tax and hospitality tax and things like that?
We don't. The state collects those funds from us when they're collecting state tax revenues, and they provide them to the town on a quarterly basis. But for planning purposes, we're planning on zero for the fourth quarter for meals. And if you think about the timing of this thing and when it all started, it had a very fast and dramatic impact on meals and hotels tax, especially. So starting, if you consider the fourth quarter, we typically, on a really good quarter, will get $1.2 million in revenue from both those tax sources combined. And for our purposes, we're estimating, we're going to get zero just for planning purposes for the fourth quarter. The good news is we're very conservative on budgeting. So we're able to, through March 31st, we've met our budget local receipts number in order to balance this year's budget. So by getting less revenue in the fourth quarter, what it's going to do is it's going to have an impact on next year's free cash money. So when free cash gets certified, we're likely to not have as robust of a number because those numbers, once you exceed the amount of money that you had budgeted for revenue, it flows into free cash. And we don't expect that we're going to have as good of a free cash number at the end of the year. It'll have a direct impact on that.
And one more tax question. What are you hearing from some of the property owners? If they, the mall, for example, they don't have any revenue coming in, or some of the other larger developments are they looking for abatements? What's sort of the process there as far as, making sure the town has the funds that it needs, but also sort of working with some of the property owners?
Well, first off, if the residents haven't seen it, at our last Board of Selectmen's meeting, the board voted to extend the tax payment due date from May 1st to June 1st. Mm-hmm. I know it doesn't seem like much if you're going through a difficult time, but taxation is covered under state law, so that was the maximum that the state allowed us to on flexibility, and the board took advantage of that for the residents and the businesses. The abatement period for the current fiscal year is passed, and for next fiscal year, our taxation is based upon property values as of January 1st. So theoretically, before the pandemic started, now when people can test their tax valuations, it goes to almost like a court at the state level. And if they are administering the tax laws according to the books, they should be looking at what it was worth on January 1st. But we know that, folks are human beings, and, so we're wondering how that whole process is going to go when we, set our taxes this year. And a lot of it, I think, will, boil down to whether the appellate tax board is interpreting the tax code based upon how it's written. Because, and again, it may only be a technicality, but the valuation of the property was done as of January 1st. So you're supposed to look at it as to what it was worth on that date. But again, people are human beings, and I'm sure businesses and residents alike will be possibly challenging their valuations, and it remains to be seen how those cases will be handled by the court.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot up in the air right now that just can't be predicted as of this point. So that's the questions I had. Any other sort of missives for our viewers that you think they need to know?
Well, I would like to thank all the residents. We've had an amazing amount of cooperation and understanding. I feel as though we've been providing nothing but bad news to you. No leaf pickup, no extra bags. Don't walk here, don't gather on the playground, and we feel really bad about it. But it's overwhelmingly been really supportive of the residents. We get very few complaints, and people are understanding of our predicament, and we're working really hard to preserve people to do essential services. If we're not picking up leads, it's to keep the drivers from getting exposed and possibly sent home so that we can pick up the regular trash on a regular basis. So we really changed our focus from, some of the value-added services to some of the essentials. And again, I know it's a major inconvenience for the residents, and I just want to thank them. They've been very understanding. Not everybody, but almost everybody's been really understanding of the situation, and everybody's been working together on it. And again, I'd also like to point out that many of our departments are providing some services virtually now. The library, COA, recreation department, all are doing virtual programming now. So please do check that out. It's not quite the same as doing it in person, but they're working really hard to try to find different ways to service the residents throughout this situation. And I can't thank all of we got a lot of people that are still coming here to do essential tasks. They're still working, and we got great employees, great department heads. I'd like to thank them also. And of course, public safety and public works, our first responders, police, fire, and DPW, they've been unbelievable. Just showing up every day like the troopers, like they do the rest of the year. And, I can't thank everybody enough. There's just been a lot of sacrifice, and, I'm really proud of our employees, and I'm proud of our department heads. Everybody's been great to work with throughout this.
Well, good to hear, and well said. And I want to thank you for taking some time from your busy schedule to give us this update, and hope you and yours stay safe and healthy.
Likewise, Rich, same to you. It was great talking to you.
All right, I'll talk to you.
Yeah.